Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another FIFA 22 video where today I am going to be sharing with you a key bit of information that I have kind of learned over the last couple of years, and it is one thing when it comes to pro tactics and pro custom tactics. Now, pro players are exceptional FIFA players. They're very good at playing the game. They're very good at abusing the broken mechanics and using them to their example. And obviously a lot of pro players like to post their custom tactics, and they do a really good job, and they obviously make some great content out there. But a lot of the pro custom tactics are not necessarily built for the average FIFA player. Now, obviously, the way that pros like to play FIFA is very, very different. And the way that FIFA is played at the very highest level, at competition level that we see sometimes in the tournaments and on TV when it's been on, but generally at the highest level, FIFA is very, very different from what we experience, us normal players experience on a week-to-week basis. So the way that the tactics and instructions and things like that are set up is very different, and it's not really suited for the general FIFA player. Now, for example, a very popular formation, especially when it comes to the pro scene, is the 4-2-3-1. A really good formation. It is very, very solid. Obviously, it's got the solid back four, the two DMs, the three cams, and the strikers. This is a brilliant formation, very popular. One of my friends is an exceptionally good player, and he's friends with a lot of the pro FIFA players, and he says that these are the sorts of teams and formations and whatnot that he comes up against all the time. So the 4-2-3-1, a super popular formation, very tough to break down, and it's just generally a very good formation. Now, when it comes to me, this is obviously a setup that I've recommended for the 4-2-3-1 recently, and this is where things differ. Now, this is not throwing shade on pro players. Obviously, everyone's entitled to do things the way they want to do. Now, this is how I would set up the 4-3-2-1, the 4-2-3-1, and generally, when I build my own custom tactics, I set them up for myself, but also for the general population, the general sort of FIFA community. So thinking more about sort of the mid-tier players, not necessarily the super high echelons of FIFA. I kind of tailor my videos more towards where the general population of FIFA is. So I like to build my teams a bit more fun, a bit more attacking, a bit more free-flowing forwards. And obviously, we play things like slow build-up, which is very, very good for people that like to play possession. We like to play direct passing in the final third. Obviously, you want to have players getting in behind and creating chances. And obviously, the way we set up our instructions, strikers on getting behind, fullback sometimes, it depends on who we're playing against and whatnot. But we like to set our formations up generally quite offensively. Now, another one is obviously this back five that we like to play. Obviously, the five back formations generally are deemed to be quite defensive. But again, you can see the way that we set our formations up. Obviously the 100 width, the 60 depth. We like to obviously push the fullbacks on forwards. They're on balance attack. They get forward. The strikers are on stay central. The cam gets forward. The two midfielders like to get forward as well. We have them on balance. So generally, I like to set my formations up quite offensively and just for the general population. Whereas, for example, when we go back to that same 4-2-3-1 formation, this is the sort of setup that you may come across when it comes to pro tactics. And again, this is not going to be every single pro player, but this is an example of when I was talking with one of my friends who is obviously a very, very good player, friends with a lot of the pro players. This was the sort of tactics that he comes across quite a lot. He comes up against people that like to play drop back, obviously play on 20 depth, but then play on the fast build up, because obviously it's all about countering. So it's very much sit deep with everyone behind the ball, and then obviously in the build up play, you're playing on fast build up because you like to obviously get and counter attack quickly, obviously with the quality that they have as players, but also the quality players that they have. A lot of them have, R9s or Eusebios, Cruyffs, all the top end players and things like that. And obviously a lot of them like to obviously have their strikers and sort of cams all on sort of comeback on defense, because it's obviously all about, when drop back, getting everyone behind the ball and things like that. So you can see the difference in how some people like myself, for example, will build tactics that are more for the general population and then pro tactics. And the difference between the two is not that there's necessarily anything wrong. This is how you kind of have to play at the top level of FIFA. And this is the difference. At the highest level of FIFA, because everybody plays with, for example, tactics like this. So if you come across a video and these are the tactics, this will work at the top end. So in the elite division with 22, 23, the super high skill rating, this is how you have to play, because everybody plays like this. Whereas an example of how we like to play when it comes to, let's take our 5-back formation, for example, or a 4-2-2 formation, you can see the difference. It's built a lot more attacking, because when you can afford to be a bit more attacking at a lower skill level, because you can get away with it at the high end of skill level. If you took these sort of tactics into the super sweat division, the elite division, right at the top end of skill rating, and you took these tactics in, you'd get annihilated because you're coming up against very good players with extremely good tactics, but then they're playing really defensive, and this is going to obviously leave lots of space, and when they're playing fast build up with the counters and then the quality they have, it's not going to work. So the thing is that I would recommend when it comes to pro tactics and whatnot, I would be careful at using them, because I don't necessarily think they're going to work for the average player, because generally they're set up for a specific style of play in a specific, scene, really. So in a very defensive and kind of negative scene, it's how you have to play, whereas you don't have to play that way at a lower skill rating. You can get away with playing lots of different styles and different ways of playing. So that would be my advice, and it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have to listen to pros. And it's not throwing shade at pro players or players that play that way. If that's how you want to play / have to play, because that's the skill level or rating or whatever you want, you can play that way. But I would just take it with a pinch of salt, because I don't think that it will work for the majority of players at a lower skill level. At where the general skill level of FIFA is, I don't think they're going to be as effective, and I think you could find more effective tactics that can work for you. And whether that's on this channel, whether that's on someone else's channel, it doesn't matter too much. It's all about finding what tactics work best for you. So hopefully you did find this useful today. Hopefully you've maybe found something in between that you can use and take away and add it to your own game. So if you did enjoy the content, do drop a thumbs up and subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. Well, that is all for today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.